All right, everybody hear me? Or I don't know who everybody is at this point, to be honest. It appears to not be too many people. All right, everybody hear me? That should not be the case. There we go. All right, step number one, send out a new text thing and ask people why they're not participating in one of the easiest things to possibly participate in. All right, that's all I can do. So, Mike and Misty, and whoever else is here, how do you like my $2,000 camera setup? Finally got the autofocus working. Is that better than it's been in the past? I know it'll take you 20 seconds to answer, but I just want to know if it looks better. I don't. I need to shave right before my 5 o'clock shadow screws things up. I hate the delay on this. We've got to find a way to do this without a 20-second delay. Okay, that's long enough for somebody to type a reply. Let me go to YouTube. Nothing. Nobody? Okay. Well, anyway, I got rid of the $2,000 setup and went to a $200 setup that does this. How cool is that? I think that's pretty cool. But why is nobody typing anything? Hey, Jeff, Vicky. Okay, so maybe I'm not seeing chat somehow. That would be really annoying. There it is. I had to hit refresh. I don't understand. Sorry, guys. All right. Yes, no camera would like my make my face look better. Cynthia, it's so good to see you. I meant to call you this week, and I'm sorry that I didn't. I'm sorry I haven't called you at all. But when I got your message in response about the when I got your message about the response to the key thing, I realized that we have not talked in far too long. So I'll give you a call this week. I want to know how you're doing. Um, so yeah, I got this new inexpensive, I mean, relatively speaking, webcam that looks, I think, like 95% as good as the literally $2,000 setup I had before. And it's got AI built into it. So when I move from side to side like this, it follows me. And if I move close or far away, it's always in focus. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to text somebody. Thanks, Mike. I like it. You know, I like tech stuff anyway, but I mean, this is just so cool. And instead of a camera on a, a little mini sort of stand and a HDMI cable that goes to a capture device I had that goes into USB, it just plugs into USB and it just works. It's really cool. It does look a little bit. That's not going to be good. Let's see. Definitely, I don't like how it's angled. I wonder if there's some way I can fix that. I doubt it. I can go to like an office or a coffee shop or do stuff like that or sit on my couch. I can wear makeup. There you go. Nobody needs to see that. No, no, no makeup. Okay. Anyway, Rocket says I look pretty. That's good. Hey, Jen, glad you guys are here. We got lots of folks over on YouTube. Good to see. So I'm going to hit refresh again and see if I see more chat. And if I don't, I am not going to understand. Yeah, I don't understand. I'm not seeing live chat as it comes through. I have to hit refresh. That's not good. Cynthia, it would be incredible to see you at church on Sunday. I hope you can make it. Jill, good to see you. If I wave my hands in front of my face, I don't think anything. I think it's got like a wide enough depth of field, like aperture, that it'll stay in focus no matter what. It's the AI is focused on my face, so I don't know what happens if I want it to look up something closer. Well, that's pretty, yeah. So if you do it like that, I 3D printed this mouse. How cool is that? I guess you can kind of see it, but it's pretty cool. And it works. So yeah, technology. It's amazing. So the cool thing is that this technology I think is going to work for church. So I think I can get and I've already got a full size tripod and put one of these cameras on it right in front of the stage area, and it'll look up at me, and I think it'll follow me as I walk around the stage. And I think we'll finally be able to record and or stream services. So I think that would be cool. Jeannie, good to see you. This is so bizarre. Mike, type the word Star Trek, please, in Facebook. I did see that. You need a 3D printer, then return the 3D printer. There, you actually can print a 3D printer. There are lots of 3D printed 3D printers. Obviously, just like the mouse, you have to buy the electronics. But like on this mouse, the electronics were only $12, so it ends up being pretty cheap. My only fear about streaming services is that our attendance is so low now. I don't want anybody to think I I don't need to go to church because I can watch it at home. I do want the people who are stuck at home to be able to watch it or who are away on vacation, that kind of stuff. So I don't know how to solve that. Okay, Jill, I think that was probably you, but I'm glad that you're back. And I am getting texts now, or messages at least. All right. So anyway, this is the new setup, and I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm super happy with this. Um, we're gonna talk about Mary Magdalene tonight, and I think I can do it all in one night. Originally, I was gonna talk about the biblical stuff and then the extra biblical stuff, but I mean, as interesting as she is, she's not super. I don't want to say she's not important. I just don't know if we need to spend two weeks on it. So let's get going. Oh, for prayers tonight, Mike specifically asked. He has family that lives in Florida who is in the path of the exit of the hurricane coming through, and asks for prayers for safety for them. And of course, we need to pray for um, everybody, and we need to pray for a better solution for recovery efforts than a $750 check to people who have lost houses, cars, pets, family. Uh, I I don't like to get political. Um, I'm starting to wonder if that's a cowardly thing or if it's truly an attempt not to alienate anyone. But it hurts me to see us sending money to other countries instead of taking care of our own people who are in desperate need. Um, I mean, that's a foreign policy issue. It's not even a, a partisan issue. Both parties do that. I don't understand it. I don't know, Mike. I'm watching Facebook and it looks fine to me. Your message came through. Are you back? Are you back okay now? We need a better streaming solution. And I love we've got 10 people on Facebook now, which is amazing. And we've got uh, 6 people on YouTube. With this kind of response, I'd be willing to try to put some money into a better streaming solution, that, like, streaming to our website, where you just go to our website and our streaming is there and you can chat right there. There are some things we could easily do, like Zoom, but that requires more technological understanding on your part, and I'm not sure that it's fair for me to expect you to have that. I don't know. I'm gonna refresh again. No, okay. Mike, are you still stuck? I'll text you. The other really cool thing about this is, how many of you are seeing closed captioning? I get closed captioning on Facebook, and it's actually very accurate. Okay, you guys ready? Want to get going? I'm sorry, I know I waste a lot of time. I wanted to talk about my new technology and I needed to fix a few things and kind of wanted to talk about the future of streaming. So, let's see. So at the bottom, I don't know, on a computer, there's a thing that says CC that you can use to click captions. Let me hop on my phone real fast and see. I was just thinking about Larry or anybody that's hard of hearing that they could. I'm sorry, I know I waste a lot. Oh no. Okay, let's get that down. So on Facebook, if I don't know if this will work. Let me get this up here. Okay, on Facebook, if you hit this button, oh, why did it do that? Okay, close that. If you hit this button right here, the little, it's probably not gonna. If you hit this button right here, it will show you closed captioning. But then you don't get to type. No, I still have it. So anyway, it can be done. So Debbie, Susan, there's probably a toggle somewhere you can switch. Okay, let's get going. I'm sorry. Mary Magdalene. Um, Probably one of the. Let's start with Luke. Luke chapter 8, 1 through 3. Soon afterwards, Jesus went through cities and villages, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the kingdom of God. The 12 were with him, as well as some women who had been cured of evil spirits and infirmities. So this is what we know about Mary. She is somebody who was cured by Jesus of evil spirits and infirmities. And I think, although you know, I don't know this, I get the impression that the evil spirits were infirmities of some sort. Like there's places where people say he's possessed by a demon. Sometimes he'll just get up and shake, and it goes on, and then finally the demon releases him. Well, that sounds like epilepsy to me, or some kind of seizure, right? And so um, it, Jesus healing the evil spirits could possibly simply be Jesus healing. But it doesn't matter because in this case we don't. Well, we do actually. We'll keep going. The 12 were with him, as well as some women who had been cured of evil spirits and infirmities. Mary, called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out. Okay, I don't know how else to interpret that. But this is old. Like I studied all this and wrote all my notes like in the spring, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of them. Joanna, the wife of Herod's steward, Chusa, and Susanna, and many others who provided for them out of their resources. So Mary Magdalene is specifically noted as having 7 demons cast out by Jesus, and she's mentioned along other women who supported Jesus and his disciples financially. So, out of gratitude, I guess, or out of realization of who he really was, she supported him. Um, um, so most, if you don't want to go the evil spirits route, which is okay, I do believe in forces of evil. Um, I've never seen someone possessed by evil in a way that was physically noticeable. I think there are some people who are very evil and probably demonic in nature. Um, but anyway, it's very possible that Mary Magdalene had, like, for instance, 7 demons went out of her. What about multiple personality disorder? That seems like something that she could have had that would be interpreted as 7 demons coming out of her. Um, Even psychological disorders, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, all those kind of things. But I think possibly multiple personality disorder. Um, since it lists 7, but again, we also have to remember 7 is a idiomatic number. 7 doesn't mean 7. 7 means a lot, several. 7 means several, really. In fact, I wonder. Let me look something up. Yeah. So several comes from the Latin word sepralysis, which means separate or distinct. And over time, it began to mean various or more than one. And 7 comes from sort of a similar word meaning septon, which is the base for the word 7 in many languages, including Latin. So they share an they share a linguistic root. Hey, Sue from St. Jomo, I'm glad you're with us. So 7 literally comes from the same stem as the word 7. So when you see the word 7 in the Bible, you just need to think several. So she really was cured from several demons. Okay. Matthew talks about her, saying many women were also there looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee and had provided for him. So again, even in Matthew, they talk about how these women supported Jesus. Among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. Again, so Mary Magdalene is noted as being. Oh, sorry. This is. I should give you context. This is the crucifixion of Jesus. So Mary Magdalene was there along with his mother, and of course the sons of Zebedee are James and John. So she was with them. I don't know if we know her name. I feel like it might be Mary. No, Salome. Okay, Salome. Which, if I had continued reading my notes, I would know. Mark 15. There were also women looking on from a distance, and again, this is crucifixion. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, um, I'm confused about something. Give me a second. Okay. I had to look up something. I was a little confused because James is, and of course, the one who wrote the book of James is the brother of Jesus. And so it seemed like an odd distinction to make to me. Sorry, let me get my computer set back up. Feel free to drop questions in the chat or something to let me know that you're still engaged. So again, Mary Magdalene. And then, so that was Luke, Matthew. Now let's go to Mark. Sorry, that was Mark. They used to follow Jesus and provided for him. So again, in the again, not only in John, but in the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, so far, it's important enough to note that Jesus survived on the generosity and support of women such as Mary Magdalene. So they used to follow him and provided for him when he was in Galilee. There were many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem. So note this, every time so far Mary has been mentioned, she's been mentioned with many other women. That to me says that Mary sort of represents the female cohorts of Jesus. And we know that. We know he had 12 disciples. We know that they were the most important because they're named and they're talked about all the time. But he had other disciples. They were the apostles. There were 12 apostles. They were the ones he sent out and gave authority to and did all those things. But it would be fair to call Mary Magdalene and some of the others disciples of Jesus. That just means learner, right? So they were people who learned from Jesus. Yeah, the heart, thank you. The heart, the light, those kind of things let me know that you're still around. I appreciate that. And then we go to Matthew, and we just get one little verse in 27, verse 61. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the tomb. So now we're post crucifixion, and so after the crucifixion, Mary is there. There are other parts. Mark mentions her again. Matthew mentions her again. She's in Mark again. In John, she's the first one. Remember, early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed, and she saw. I'm missing off the top of my head. One of them, she asked the gardener what he had done with Jesus' body, but then he says to her, Mary, says her name, and she turns and says to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher. So again, if she's his teacher, she is her disciple. They, I'm sure that they did, Debbie, support him in ways other, in addition to monetarily, but they also supported him monetarily. And we get that. Let me go back to, I think it was Luke. The wife of Herod's steward and Susanna and many others who provided for them out of their resources. So, I mean, I suppose that could be, flour, wheat, whatever, but as because she's traveling around with him, I think it's probably financially because nothing else would keep. Make sense? Somebody hit the angry face. Who's angry at me? Okay. A key point that I have is that Mary Magdalene is one of the women who reports Jesus' resurrection to the disciples. She knows about the resurrection of Jesus before the disciples do. Does that? I mean, I started the session by saying she wasn't that important, but I did correct myself and say I didn't think it was necessary to take up 2 weeks to talk about her. She's very important, and the fact that she witnesses or is witness to the resurrection before the named disciples, the men, I think is significant. So now I want to talk about something else that I think is really interesting. And this is a controversy throughout the history of the church about the Mary Magdalene as the prostitute. So this comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 7, verses 36 through 50. I'm not going to read it all, but I'll give you the gist of it. It tells the story of a woman who anoints Jesus' uh, feet with ointment and then washes them with her tears and dries them with her hair. That is and I mean, Luke is good at this, but that is a very sensory filled description, right? Like you can really picture that. So this woman anoints Jesus with very expensive ointment, not anointment. She anoints him with ointment. I wonder if those two words are related. Look it up. Yep, they are. I mean, I love etymology. I love the origin of words, but yeah, anointment and ointment are related because they usually anointed with ointment. So now you know something that you probably already knew. I'm going to refresh just to see if I'm missing any comments. Okay. So there's this woman, and she is described as a sinner, which traditionally was, and when I say traditionally, I don't mean biblically. So we have this sort of biblical tradition combined with the biblical narrative. I'll give you an example. There's the story of the rich man and Lazarus, right? So Lazarus is the beggar, and the rich man steps over him every day to get to his mansion, and steps over him to get out, but never does anything to help him. So that's biblical. Tradition calls the rich man Dives. I don't know why, but you will often hear the story of Lazarus and Dives, and that's because that's who the rich man was. So we do have some like really strong, and we believe in tradition in the United Methodist Church, in the Methodist Church. Never mind United, in the Wesleyan tradition, we believe in tradition. Now we believe in Scripture first, but we believe in tradition, experience, and reason. And so we can't we need to give some weight to tradition. And the tradition of the church is was that the sin that she had committed was prostitution. Um, However, then uh, what happens is in Luke, so in Luke verses 7:36 through 50, immediately following that story, Luke introduces Mary Magdalene, who in that version of it had 7 demons cast out of her. And because they were right next to each other, the early tradition of the church um, conflated Mary Magdalene with the unnamed sinful woman. Now, keep in mind 2 things. Number one, it just says that she was a sinner. If you're not a sinner, please feel free to leave the stream because you don't need any of this. So there's no judgment, right? The why the church decided that that sin was prostitution, I really couldn't tell you. But because I can tell you that the reason they conflated Mary Magdalene with that woman is because it immediately follows that. So Luke's like, yeah, there was this woman, and she was a sinner, and she anointed his feet with hair, and she washed it with her tears. Sorry, with ointment, oil, and she washed him with tears, and she dried him with her hair, and Mary Magdalene was there. I mean, to me, that that indicates two separate people, but to the church, going all the way back to say the fourth century, like almost fifth century, um, they they believed that she was the same one. And so Pope Gregory the Great, you don't have to remember this. I had to remember this for my Christian heritage class, which of course I forgot and had to look up. He delivered a sermon in which he explicitly identified Mary Magdalene as the sinful woman who anointed Jesus' feet. He also combined her identity with Mary of Bethany, who we know as the sister of Martha and Lazarus, right? Remember the story of Martha and Mary? Mary's sitting at Jesus' feet, learning everything that he has to teach, a disciple. And Martha's cleaning the kitchen and doing the dishes. And she says, Master, tell her to come in and help me. And then we can both come out and learn together. And Jesus basically says, look, that can wait. I don't know how to make that stop. Hang on. Let me turn that sound off. Do not disturb 1 hour. Okay. He says, basically, that can wait. I'm here right now. I'm not going to always be here. So why don't you let all that go and come out and pay attention to me? Because that's what Mary's doing. And she's kind of chosen the better thing. I'm not going to take it away from her. Great, great story. Preaches really well. So Pope Gregory the Great said that these three women who were presented as three different women, and in Mary's case, probably just because she had the name Mary. I don't know, but he he said. I mean, I have definitely said some wacky things during sermons. I've definitely made mistakes during sermons. So Pope Gregory the Great delivers this sermon in which he explicitly combines Mary Magdalene with the sinful woman who they said was a prostitute, who anointed Jesus' feet, along with Mary, the sister of Lazarus, and Martha. And because he did that, and because he wasn't some, low level moronic pastor like me, and was instead the Pope, that became canon. So that's what the church, if you don't know what that means, it means sort of the official storyline. So the official storyline for the church from that point until a point way in the future was that the prostitute who anointed Jesus' feet was Mary Magdalene. And also, Mary Magdalene was Mary of Bethany, which makes no sense whatsoever. Let me make sure I'm right about that. So Mary Magdalene says that Mary is from Magdalene. That's how they got named a lot. So why would the Mary of Magdalene be mixed up with Mary of Bethany? I don't understand that. I'm just I'm Googling stuff, which is pretty much half of what I do. There's too many Marys in the Bible. That's part of the problem. I don't have a good answer for you as to why that happened. Um, so check this out. This was like 590 um, AD, right? 590 AD, and for centuries that was the story, even though there was no biblical reason to support it because a pope said it. Now, I don't think. Um, Let me check this and make sure. Okay, so it wasn't. So one thing that you need to know about Catholicism is that there's this doctrine of infallibility, but it has to be done a special way. Papal infallibility is a very specific situation where it's called ex cathedra, which means from the chair. So if the Pope can do this on matters of like faith, morals, ethics, things like that, can say something, and it becomes canonical Catholic law that can never be undone. It hasn't been done a whole lot. Um, okay, I'll give you some examples. And in fact, this was a relatively new doctrine in terms of Christian history. It came around like in the late 1800s. What was the thing called? It was like a papal convention. I forget what it was called. Vatican Council. That's it. It was called the Vatican Council. Um, and so I think the first use of papal infallibility was about the Immaculate Conception of Mary. Now, again, we're getting into a little bit of Catholicism, and I'm definitely going down rabbit holes, and I'm sorry about that. And I guess we're going to do 2 weeks on Mary Magdalene because I'm incapable of just sticking to one thing. Probably why people don't watch my streams. Um, the Immaculate Conception of Mary does not mean that she was a virgin when she was when Jesus was conceived. It means her mother was a virgin when she was conceived. Now, I I know that sounds really weird, but the the Catholics believed that close, Debbie. I think the conclave is what they call when they reelect when they elect popes. But yeah, it was the um, it was the other one, um, the council. Okay, I'm. You know what? Enough about Mary. Um, I don't think it was used again until like 1950, and 1950 is a really big year for Catholicism. Like around that time is when the Catholics went from Latin to English for the Mass, so that the average everyday person could understand what was going on. It was huge. And so this is the second time that papal infallibility was used, and this was used to officially indoctrinate. Uh, I know that that word is bad for us, but make it official doctrine that there was an assumption of Mary, that Mary assumed into heaven that she never died, that Mary never died, and that's important to Catholics too. I really couldn't tell you why. I don't know a whole lot of other times of. I think that might be the only two times it's been used. it's very scary, right? Like if the Pope gets on the papal throne and says, "I'm invoking papal and infallibility," the Pope can say anything he wants, anything, and the Catholics have to believe it as gospel truth. Either that, or leave the Catholic Church, or have some kind of, you know, rebellion in a way similar to what Martin Luther did. So, um, man, I'm horrible at this. I'm so sorry. Someone needs to sit down and have a long talk with me about sticking to what I say that I'm going to talk about. All that is to tell you that Pope Gregory in 590, when he gave this speech or this sermon about Mary Magdalene being the prostitute and also the sister of Martha and Lazarus, he, there was no papal infallibility from that. And so what happened is, let me pull back up my notes, and then we're going to kind of be close to being done with the biblical stuff. Lost it. Okay. So for, like I said, this happened in okay, I said 590. It was 591. I was off by a year. That's pretty close. In 1969, the Vatican officially separated Mary Magdalene from the unnamed sinful woman in Luke and from Mary of Bethany. And the church recognized for the first time in what, 1,000 years, 1,100 years, that they were three different women. For 1,100 years, the Christian church, and keep in mind, the Protestant church came from the Catholic Church, the Anglican church came from the Catholic Church, so all of these doctrinal beliefs went with them. So for 1,100 years, Mary Magdalene was the prostitute in the Bible. And finally, through some actual biblical study and basic, like, common sense, the Catholic Church said, no, this isn't right. They're three different people. And it was a official correction of doctrine, which again is something that the Catholics do. I'm glad somebody does, Debbie. I am a tangential person for sure. So if you, this is important because I suspect you have heard that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute that Jesus, changed and she left her sinful ways behind and followed him. That's not the case. She either had demons or perhaps, I think more likely, a medical condition like multiple personality disorder. Um, and Jesus healed her of that, and she gave up everything that she had and followed him all the way through his life, through his death, and through his crucifixion, and through his resurrection. She deserves our respect, our awe, in my opinion, as much as any of the named disciples, and more than some. I'm looking at you, Judas. And in fact, while the 12 disciples were named, there's a lot more in the Bible about her than about most of the disciples. People say that, I mean, think about the number of years, millennia, centuries at least, like more than 10, so at least a millennium. And in some traditions still today, where women aren't respected in the church. They're not allowed to have leadership positions. They're not allowed to be pastors. They're not allowed to, they can teach Sunday school or whatever. It's still Still happens. It happened in the Methodist Church until about like 55 years ago. Even though Paul talked about women who preached, who gave women the opportunity to preach. Even though you have stories about people like Mary Magdalene and Mary of Bethany and other people who were such an important part of our biblical tradition, we still kept women out of the important parts of the Christian tradition. Now, I know we have a lot of women here, and this is probably nothing new to you. You're probably pretty used to being treated as a second class citizen in too many situations. Um, and so I I think it was very progressive of the Catholics in 1969, 4 years before I was born, to say Mary Magdalene was not the prostitute. She wasn't even Mary, although there was nothing wrong with any of the Marys. But to say she was her own person, and she was a disciple of Jesus. She learned from Jesus. She followed Jesus. She supported Jesus. And it just gives her some credibility that was robbed from her for 1100 years. Okay, we're going to stop there. Next time, we're going to talk about the extra biblical stuff because there is some wild stuff. And it ties into a place that Cheryl and I have been called Les Beaux en Provence in France, which is really cool. Keep in mind, you want to be here for that session. Keep in mind when I talk about it, I'm not talking about church tradition. I'm not talking about biblical stuff. I'm talking about some wacky beliefs that some wacky people had in France a long time ago. But it's cool. And how often do we get to talk about things that are sort of, you know, way out there? So we're going to do that next time. And then we're going to go through First Maccabees. So I suspect none of you have ever read First Maccabees. You might want to pull it out and just read through some of it to kind of get the feel of it so that it's familiar as we begin to go through it. So that's it for tonight. Was that okay? Did you guys like that? Did you learn something? Give me a thumbs up if you learned something tonight. Look at that. Look at all those thumbs up. Thank you very much. All right, everybody, it was good to see you. I want to go back over the list. Mike, Terry, thanks for being here from Indiana tonight. Susan, good to see you. Susan, when do you come back? Just curious. I know you're bringing Journey. I need to know when you're going to make Journey come to church so that I can have Morning is Broken as a hymn for her. So let me know that. Misty, I'll see you tomorrow. I have lots of stuff to tell you about church stuff that's going on right now. So make sure I do that. Cynthia, so awesome to have you here tonight. It would be incredible to see you on Sunday. If there's anything we can do to help you, please let me know. Jeff and Jill, thank you for being here. I forgot to check YouTube. Okay, not a whole lot there. That's good. And just comments. I didn't want to make sure I didn't miss any. Jennifer, glad you were here tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Jeannie, thanks for being here with us. Debbie, if I didn't say it, I'm glad that you were here with us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Sue from St. Joe Mo, thank you for joining us. And I think that's everybody. So that's going to be it for tonight. I think the camera's pretty cool. I'm a fan of it. I like it a lot better than my old setup. And I think it's going to be really good to see if this will work at church so that we can start streaming or at least recording sermons. So that's it. God bless, Godspeed. And oh, okay. It was, oh, that's right. Journey's her sister. Okay. You know what? Your family is confusing. I don't know what to tell you. Hang on a second. Hang on, hang on. Someone told me something and I'm trying to figure out what it is. Five, four, three, two. Oh, and yes, Cynthia, I will give you a call this week. Some kind person reminded me to do that. So I will do that. Also, you can call me anytime. Sorry, Susan. It's Michelle. And Michelle, as much as she's a great person, does not have the affinity for um, sorry, Michelle is the one who likes Morning is Broken. Journey had the baby, which is where you're at right now, right? I'm going to get it. Eventually, I'll get it. That's it, guys. Godspeed. God bless. And as always, thanks for watching.